morning and welcome to Becca's World. My name is Becca. Today I'm going to be making homemade shepherd's pie, but first I'm going to demonstrate how I assemble and use my KitchenAid, because this is one of my tools I have in my kitchen that I use. First of all, this is the device. It's nice and heavy and sturdy, so it sits well on the counter. And you tip that back like that. And if you can, sighted people can see and blind people could feel that there's a grooved circle here, and what you do is you set the bottom of the bowl in it and you just turn it until it locks into place. And there's two different beaters that come with it. There's this one, which I don't use, and then there's this one, which I use quite often. And so I'm gonna apply or attach this on here, and you just stick it on, and as a blind person you can totally feel it, and just make sure it's locked in place, and then you set that back down like that. Let's see, I'm going to set this extra beater right here on the counter, push this back out of the way, and then the way you turn it on is just that's low, and if you can aim the camera down in there and they can see it going around. And so like I make my homemade mashed potatoes in here, I make cake mixes in here, all kinds of stuff, and it just gets, you know, higher and higher. And then there's like a release valve over here, but we don't want to release it. And that's my KitchenAid. That's what I'm going to be using to make the homemade mashed potatoes. So there's potatoes, there's hamburger, onion, sour cream, there's margarine, cream corn, cheese, there's salt and pepper. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to prep the potatoes. I'm going to wash them and put them on a plate. And then I'm going to stab each of them with a fork and put it in the microwave for 15 minutes, and I'm gonna listen, and they'll be popping and stuff like that. And periodically, I'll take them out and check them by inserting a fork into the center of the potato. And if it slides all the way in easily, then I know that potato is done. And as they're coming out like that, I'll be pulling them off of the plate and tossing them into the KitchenAid, and you'll see how it goes from there. And set the bag in the right-hand sink where I'm not putting water at the moment. I'm going to put the strainer in the left-hand sink where the water is. And I'm going to vigorously rub the potato with my thumbs and my fingertips as I run it under the water to get all of the little dirt, you know, the dirt off of it and stuff, and the soil. I'm gonna turn it different directions, you know, just use my hands to clean it. And let's see, where's my strainer at? And then I'll put it in the strainer. Now, I love potatoes, and I love cooking potatoes, and I love eating potatoes. And my rule of thumb when I'm cooking potatoes is, I mean, I'm making a recipe right now, but usually when I make potatoes for people, for a family or a group of people, I usually make one potato for every person, plus another one for a ghost person who might show up, plus one to grow on. So, like when I was with my husband, I would, and my mother-in-law used to come over for dinner a lot, so there'd be like usually 5 of us for dinner. So I usually make like 7 or 8 potatoes, and it usually turned out to be the right amount of potatoes. You know what I mean? That's how I would always figure that kind of stuff. So yeah, I love potatoes, and I love they're easy to cook, and they're easy to eat, and they taste good, and they're so, I don't know, I just think they give you a lot of what you need. So I probably need 3 or 4 more potatoes, maybe. And the thing that's really great about cooking with potatoes is you can use, if you're using potatoes in a recipe, you can usually guesstimate, you know, how much you need. So I don't know, I love potatoes, so I use a lot of potatoes usually. Okay, so that's probably enough potatoes. So now I'm going to take each potato and stab each one with the fork as I set it on the plate so that I get them all I don't want to miss any, because if you put a potato in the microwave and you don't stab it with a fork, it will explode. Oh, I'm going to actually want more potatoes than this. This is barely going to, I think this is barely going to fill up this one plate. And I usually make like 2 plates of potatoes. Oh, let me put that on the plate. Actually, that's probably enough because I'm only making shepherd's pie. So I'm going to put these in the microwave. Okay. Oh, just a minute here. Sorry. Now I'm going to set it for 15 minutes. As a blind person, you guys may have noticed I have Braille labels on my microwave that I had to create and put there myself. Every appliance I have ever bought, I have had to tactily mark myself so I can use it. My washer, my dryer, my stove, my microwave, any appliance that has push buttons and stuff on it or that you set, blind people can't set those. So we have to find our own tactile methods to set these appliances. So we have lots of things we use. I get these dots usually that are raised, and they're usually adhesive on the back. So you like use an alcohol wipe and wipe the surface that you're going to attach it to, and then you attach it there. Now I'm going to cut the onion. So as a blind person, you can feel where, I don't know what this is called, the root or whatever was at. So I know this is one side, and the other side, you can feel it here too, but it's just not as easy to feel where this is. What I do is I stand the onion on its side like this so that I've got the 2 ends on either side. And then I take my knife. I can feel this where the, I don't know what this inconsistency or this rough part is. I can feel where it starts here, right? So I'm going to, just like I did with the chicken, see I have my finger right where it starts, and then I put the edge of the knife right above my finger. And then I like stick the edge of the knife so it's right under the skin. And then I dig it in a little bit deeper, and as I'm starting to dig in, I am, I don't know, just kind of going like this. It's kind of hard to explain, but that's how I did it. Do you see? I didn't cut my finger, and I got it cut off at pretty much the right spot, I think. And then I'm going to turn the onion this way and cut it off on the other side. Same way, kind of. Then I go like that. And then, here, I'm also going to, at this point, throw this stuff in the garbage. Try to keep from making such a big mess. Where is it at here? Oh, there's another piece of onion. Or maybe I can. Let's see here. And I was never really taught about onions by my mother when I was growing up. I don't know much about onions, so I usually take off that much just to make sure I got all the stuff off that needs to be off. And then I set it on the cutting board, and I take the knife and cut it basically in half to try to make it in smaller pieces. And then I take one of those pieces, turn it on its side like that, and just try to cut up the pieces. And see, I have my right index finger on this side of the knife and my left thumb, and oh, I'm sorry, this is affecting my eyes. You guys can see how I'm doing this to protect my hand and get the onions at the same time, I'm sure. And so now I reached over and grabbed the other large chunk of onion, and I'm dicing it up. I'm sorry, you guys, my eyes are being affected by the onions, so I'm trying to keep my head turned away a little bit. And I'm also getting a bunch of onions on the floor. And see, I'm kind of sliding it back onto the, and I turn the blade away from me when I set the knife down so I don't cut myself, because what I'm doing is I'm gathering up the onion that's slid off the sides of the cutting board. Okay, so now I'm just going to grab some onions and throw in here. Oh, geez, I still got some pretty big chunks in there, but it'll be okay. Now I'm going to fry the ground beef up with the onions I just diced. Now, as I put the hamburger in the pan, I'm going to break it up a little bit. This helps to, break it up a little bit as I'm distributing it throughout the pan where the onion is. Hold on, I need a bigger pan. As I was adding the hamburger to the pan, I realized that this pan is too small to accommodate this much hamburger while I'm frying it. So I dug out my much deeper skillet because I don't want to be having trouble with it going over the sides a lot. So and see the skillet I was going to use fits easily inside the new skillet. So the new skillet is quite a bit larger. So I just dumped all of that in there. I'm going to tap on the bottom of the pan to try to get anything light that's stuck on there, First thing I do is I feel the burner to make sure the pan is centered well on the burner before I even turn the burner on. And then I'm going to turn the burner on. I turn it upside down so it's pretty much at halfway, which is like medium. So then I'm just going to use the spatula to try to break up the hamburger a little bit. And once I get this, once I get this, okay, I'm just going to, and actually I'm going to turn this up a little bit. Okay, so I got a lid out so we can put it on the pan and keep the heat in the pan so the meat fries faster. So I'm just going to make sure that fits right. Perfect. Now, as a blind person, you can hear and feel the whole thing. Did you hear it? You could hear it when it locked into place, and I could feel it. Yeah, and see, you can hear it. Can you hear that? I can. I just heard it. It just started cooking really well in there. Let's take the, oh wow, I can smell it too. Let's take the lid off so we can smell this and hear the sounds it's making a little bit. So I just grabbed the handle with my left hand, and I'm stirring it with the spatula in my right hand. Stirring the meat around, and there's onions in it that I diced up and added, so the hamburger and the onion is cooking together. And as you can, I can hear it sizzling. As it's cooking. And that's one way that we know that it's done, because as the liquid in the meat evaporates and dries up and it gets close to being done, you'll hear less of the sizzling sounds. That's one way a blind person knows that it's done. You can also tell because the texture of the meat changes. Like right now, I can feel with the spatula it's very soft, and the spatula sinks into it well. But as it cooks, the texture changes. And of course, there's the smell. And then there's a lot of cool apps that we use too. Be My Eyes is an app that's really easy to use. It takes a moment to open it up, and you can shine your phone camera at the pan and just ask the Be My Eyes volunteer, does that look like it's done? You can, just lots of ways that we do it. But this is how people did it before they had cool apps like Be My Eyes. Now I'll put the lid on it so it can cook faster. Okay, now locked in place. I'm going to set my spatula in the spoon rest on the stove. Turn the pan. Make sure the handles are not out where they'll get bumped. While I was frying the hamburger, the microwave stopped, so let's check the potatoes. So I just opened the microwave and I'm reaching in. The plate's kind of hot. Let me see if I can find an oven mitt here. I'm just going to grab this oven mitt because I don't want to drop the plate carrying it out because it's hot. I just need to use my other hand to kind of brace the plate so I can get my glove under it. Now look at this. See how easy the fork goes in there? I placed the fork on the potato and it slides easily in. That's how I know this potato is done. So I'm going to stick it in the KitchenAid bowl. Usually it takes a lot longer, but I usually use much larger potatoes than these. So what I'm doing is I'm just stabbing each one with the fork, and since each of them has been done so far, so I'm putting them in here. Normally, it's not this case. Like I said, normally I use much larger potatoes, and I usually have to put them in a second time into the microwave. So this is sour cream, and I have a story about sour cream. I always worry when I use sour cream because one time I was making a recipe for my family, and my husband it was his favorite recipe, so he's kind of hanging around while he's making it. And fortunately, he looked at the container of sour cream as I was about to dump it into the bowl with all the other ingredients, and he saw that it was moldy, and it was a brand new container of sour cream. So, you know, it's something I always worry about with sour cream, because what it is this little black dots on the surface that sighted people can see. So can you tell me, is there anything there? Let me know in the comments, okay? So now I'm gonna just scoop some sour cream. And I like a lot of sour cream. I think I'm just gonna finish this container of sour cream in these mashed potatoes. So I'm just gonna scoop it into the bowl as best as I can with the spoon. So now we're gonna add margarine to the recipe. So let's see, here's the spoon, got the margarine. Holy shit, is that bad? It stinks. Okay, whoa, that's not margarine. I don't know what that is, but that's definitely not margarine, it's the wrong color. Okay, this is bad. We gotta figure something out. Cut! So this is leftovers from last night in a margarine container. Fortunately, I noticed that before I dumped it in my recipe. So let's find the actual margarine. And I'm actually going to leave this out because I need to get this lid back on correctly before I put it away. So where's my counter at? Okay, so let me set that there. So I'm coming back over here, and I'm going to grab the actual margarine. Look, same container, same everything, but this is actual margarine. Okay, now where is my spoon at? I had it. Maybe I gotta get another spoon. Oh no, it's right here. So now I'm gonna see margarine, ta-da! I'm gonna add margarine to the recipe. There, so that's how much margarine I'm gonna use in these potatoes. And I'm gonna turn this on, and now the power switch is on the left side here, and you pull it towards you, and the first setting is low. Whoops, sorry, I pulled it too fast. The first setting is low, and you can hear it, and you can see it mixing in there. Now, I love my KitchenAid. I make meatloaf with my KitchenAid. I make cake mixes with my KitchenAid. Anything that you need to mix, you can make with your KitchenAid. It's really a wonderful little tool. It's done. So now I'm going to just mix it up a little bit real quick, and then I'm going to put the lid on it to keep it hot while I get everything else mixed up. So now I'm going to shut this off and lift this up, and I'm going to stick my spoon in here and see what I think of the consistency of these potatoes. They're pretty thick. Let me get my salt and pepper. I'm going to share one of Blind Becca's cooking tips with you. You know how to tell the difference between salt and pepper when you're blind? You can hear the difference. This is the salt. Okay, now I'm going to season the potatoes with simple salt and pepper, and I have a tip. When you're seasoning with multiple seasonings, you should use the salt last because it seals in the flavor. So I'm going to apply the pepper first. And I'm also going to put my left hand on this side of the bowl to help me kind of gauge where I'm sprinkling at. And now I'm going to add some salt. So, and there's some potatoes on the spoon, so you're going to want to clean them off the best that you can. And hold on, I'm going to put the spoon over here, and I'm going to turn this on to start mixing. Okay, so where did I set the pan? So now I'm going to vigorously shake this pan up, and I can hear it in there, so I know it's full. It's a nice bottle of pan. Okay, now I'm going to take the lid off. Now, this is the top, and as a blind person, I can't see where to point it. So what I do is, first I want to see what kind of nozzle this bottle has. So I immediately run my finger around it, and I can see that this is the hole where the stuff comes out, and this is where you press. It's easy. So I put my finger on there and I shake it up again like this, and I have it so it's aiming that way. And then I find my pan with my left hand, and I place my right hand in it like this, and then I go like this. And then I tip it on its side and go like this to get the edges. That's how and then I just go like that for a quick, just to make sure everything's coated. I'm going to add the hamburger to this bowl. Okay, so now I have this all set up so I can start putting the shepherd's pie together. The first step is the potatoes, and the potatoes are right here. So I'm going to add them to the pan with the spoon. Now I am going to use my hands to tactily clean out the inside of the bowl to get the mashed potatoes that are sticking to the sides. Okay, so now I'm going to use the spatula, or not the spatula, the spoon. You can use a spatula or a spoon for this part. You just want to smooth, your hands also work well too. You just want to smooth out your base of mashed potatoes across the bottom of the pan. Okay, so now I'm going to put the meat into the recipe. I'm also going to do this tactily. I'm going to stick my hand into the bowl and just grab a handful of the hamburger. I'm going to kind of hover my hand over the pan until I get down here to the bottom. Or to the end of the pan, I can feel that I'm at the end. So I'm going to go like, just trail my hand along the bottom and kind of drop the burger as I'm going. And then I'm going to reach in here and grab another handful and try to start at the same spot and go like this. I just try to go back and forth across the pan and drop it in as even a layer as I can. And I have way more hamburger than I needed, and I think I did predict that. And you want to put a nice generous layer of the meat in, because the meat is, it's protein. It's what builds our bodies. So anyway, I think that's a pretty good layer of meat though for the shepherd's pie. So I'm going to put the rest of this away for something else. Maybe we'll have it for tacos or something. Okay, now I'm going to apply the sweet corn, I guess it's called, whole kernel corn, sweet corn, whatever you want to call it, to the recipe. And same as I did with the hamburger, see, I grabbed a handful of the corn out of the can, and I'm going to start down here at the bottom and try to evenly distribute it, or distribute it as evenly as I can, going back and forth. And see, I can see the golden kernels of corn among the dark pieces of hamburger, because there's a lot of contrast between the golden corn and the dark colored hamburger. So this is kind of fun for me to be able to see this, especially because yellow is one of my favorite colors, and this golden corn is like, bright yellow colored. Okay, I think that's pretty good. So that's the corn. Now I'm just going to reach in and grab a handful of cheese and do the same thing I did with the meat and the corn. Go like this, back and forth. Try to evenly, or as evenly as possible, distribute the cheese as I'm going. So now that we've assembled our shepherd's pie, I'm going to bake it at 350 for 30 minutes. I'm going to set it on the cookie sheet, and then I'll just slide the cookie sheet into the oven. So I put the pan of shepherd's pie onto a cookie sheet so that if it boils over, it won't make a big mess in the oven. Then I'm going to come over here, find my talking timer on the refrigerator.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 minutes. Timer on.
And I set my timer for 30 minutes. Okay, now I'm going to shut the oven off. Just a moment. Now I'm going to step back. Just don't want anybody getting burned. Oh, wow. It smells wonderful. Hey, who wants some shepherd's pie?
We do.
This is really bad. Everybody should just go to the nearest McDonald's and have a Big Mac. No, I'm kidding. It's wonderful, of course. You guys should have some. I don't care if you're blind or sighted. Get off your, you know what, and make yourself some food. Make yourself some shepherd's pie. Thank you for watching Becca's World. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Did you know you can tell the difference between salt and pepper if you hold them next to your ear and just jiggle the container? Because the salt, it sounds, honestly, it sounds like very, very, very distant sleigh bells. This is the salt. And I can tell because the sound.
Which one's the salt?
This is the salt.
No.
I can kidding you. So I'm going to give you one of Blind Becca's tips for cooking. Do you know how you tell the difference between salt and pepper? Did you know you can tell by the sound? Yeah, this is really cool. Watch this. This is the salt. You can tell by the sound. It sounds like distant sleigh bells.
No!
You know what it is? My hearing's better in my right ear than my left ear. Because now I'm hearing it on the right side again. I just switched. Look, my hearing's going in my left ear. Damn it. Do you realize that means my hearing's going in my left ear?